Hello again, everyone. Thank you for coming to watch this. Paul here to all my friends again with a good friend of mine, Axel from Ambush Brewing.
Pleasure to be here again.
And it's been a little while. We're tasting our V3 of Equinox. If you follow us on our social, we've done a few videos on this. This is our collaboration with Ambush Brewing. There's been a bit of a hiatus on it because Tim, the other half of Ambush Brewing, he's just had twins, so we didn't brew it for a while, did we?
We didn't brew it for a while, I think.
And that's why Tim's not here today. He's got more important things to do. So this one's for you, Tim.
I'm drinking.
Let's have a smell of it. Really excited about this one. What are we up to now? We're up to V3. So we've made probably over 2,000 litres when we
Yep. Yeah,
which doesn't sound like a lot, but for us, doing small batch brews just for a collab here, we're pretty proud of this one. Talk us through it, Axel. What have we changed here? I'm going to just be quiet for a minute.
Sure. So changes from volume 2. We added a little bit more to the malts and the malt bill. So we went from 7 kilos of Vienna up to 12.5. So a bit more malty. That's the kind of primary driving malt, I guess, for the malt bill. Mm-hmm. And we also have we doubled the rolled oats to give it a little bit more body.
That's what we did.
A little bit more protein to retain some head and some carb.
The rolled oats were strategically put there to get more body.
Exactly.
Were we looking at head retention with the oats as well?
Yeah. That's kind of improved again. Like we made some slight improvements on volume 2 from volume 1, and we've doubled again the amount of oats we put in there to kind of really get where we're looking at a little bit more a heavier mouthfeel. What else have we changed? We've added some citra to the dry hop.
Citra.
Yes.
Yes.
After all of those times, we said we're never doing citra.
Because we kind of vetoed it. We did. We vetoed it from the start. We were like, no Galaxy, no Mosaic, no Citra, no Strata. But after volume 2, we were like, maybe we'll come back to that and rethink that thought process.
That's
and
right.
I'm glad that we did.
I am too. It's really kind of brought out the best of the Centennial. So we did 1.2 kilo dry hop of Centennial. And then 800 grams of the citra, and that's it's really complexified, I guess, what we're getting in the aroma.
Centennial was in the boil as well.
Yes, Centennial,
which was the same as V2.
Same as V2.
So really on the hops, besides where you add them or where we have added them, the citra was the main kind of like.
The citra's the biggest.
That wasn't there before.
That wasn't there before.
And I wish we had smell-o-vision here, because if you smell it, it is abundantly obvious that it's been dry hopped with a new age. I mean, that Centennial does pull out some.
It can be citrusy.
Grape, citrus. But even with Centennial, I pull out like the softer, almost like a lime peel, like an apple skin, green apple.
Green apple
to
an extent.
I was thinking like, yeah, to an extent. It's not like bang in your face, but it's definitely that's there, and it's so clean as well. Like, it smells clean, and what I mean by that is that there's not much behind it besides the ethyl, the alcohol that's kind of balancing all that, and there might be a little bit more. We were kind of having a conversation about this inside, where I was like, oh, is it a perception that I'm kind of feeling? You're like, no. So elaborate on what we were.
We were talking a little bit about the yeast esterification, and for me, I perceived the yeast much more in this beer than I did in the previous one. Paul was the opposite, which was interesting. But I smell a bit more of that esterification, which is interesting because we did drop the temperature on the primary ferment just to try and ease it off a little bit, because we were getting really, really high efficiencies with our yeast.
Extremely high.
Extreme
We're very
attenuation.
proud of that with this beer, though. Like,
the same thing happened to an extent, but because we had a much larger volume again, we upped our volume again. So we've dropped it down to 5% on the nose. We're aiming for a little bit lower than that, around the 4.7. So that's the kind of the next move we're going to try and make, I think, with volume 4 is just to knock it down.
I totally agree. I like the perceived bitterness on this one. I mean, like, there's not much I don't like about this beer. It's a gram beer, and we've got heaps of kegs of it. So please come down and give it a try. But the bitterness, I like. It's like from the V2 to this one. Besides the body and retention, yeah, it's just a it's not like it's a completely different beer,
No.
because it's not. It's really not. But the perceived differences is so like paramount in this
Yeah.
version. And we did say that like it's going to take us a wee while to get to a stage where like this is it. This is our recipe. This is what we're going to keep making. We're up to V3 now. I presume that we will make some more changes for the V4, the V5. But I'm hoping by the time we get to a V6, we have something that we're so happy about that we don't want to make any changes to
Exactly.
it. And we're well on the better every brew, right?
Better every brew. That's right, Paul. And I'm very happy with how this one turned out. It's funny because we did make some very slight water chemistry changes as well, as we were talking about earlier. So we dropped the gypsum from the water chem this time. The last water chem bill we did, I think we had about 60 grams of gypsum in 1,000 liters roughly of hot liquor, which is basically the water you're making and putting in the mash with your grains. This time around, we dropped out the gypsum and knocked our magnesium, our Epsom salts up a little bit. So that's basically providing the sulfur.
Well, like, yes, when we were having a try inside, I was like, there might be to my nose and taste, like there might be a wee bit of sulfur there, but the magnesium and lacking the other harder things that are going salts is maybe it's just like my nose and palate isn't perfect, and I really thought that it was I was perceiving a metabisulfide, but as I'm trying it now, it really is just a showcase of how much the water profile. I mean, let's like just talk of what makes beer. Water is 99% of what the end product of beer. So your water profile makes a huge difference.
Certainly does.
And in this one, it hasn't gone unnoticed.
Hasn't gone unnoticed, no. And this came about some conversations we had a few months ago when we were just finishing off the V2, and we wanted to try and boost the maltiness a little bit more. We've increased our hops, our additional hops in this version, but we wanted to kind of showcase the malt a little bit more. So what we did is we basically dropped our chloride-sulphate ratio, and depending on that ratio is you could have a balanced beer, which is usually a ratio of 1:1, but you can play with those ratios, and that's what kind of generates either a malty tasting beer or perceptively malty, or whether you're going to perceive the hops more so than you would otherwise. So we dropped our balance a little bit. I think it was a 1.3 initially, and we dropped it to 1.1. So that's a fairly large change as far as water chem goes, but I think it's been a good change, and it's worked out for the best, I think.
Cheers to that. Cheers. Let's get our nose in here again. Speaking of that citra, it's just citra by name, you kind of think of these, citrus fruit, but it's not always the case, especially when you're using it for dry hopping. I find with citra that you do pull out a lot more of the. Even I pick up, and I think I said this on the V2 as well. It's like just that tiny bit of it's like it's almost like a lychee, but it's not quite lychee. It's like not as sweet. It's not as profound. But I feel like that's the centennial and citra just in harmony.
Yeah.
I think it's a good way to in harmony. Like the one is not overpowering the other, and using one in the boil and one in the dry hop. Or I guess both in the dry hop.
Both in the dry hop. Yeah.
But it's turned into something that is like we were talking in the bar before. It's like we both like we said the word at the same time. So this it's almost like a dried apricot, a very pungent oxidized fruit. An oxidized apricot is what I'm going for. The Centennial will show that. I mean, I've tried classic American IPAs and even old world British IPAs that use the your 3Cs. That comes to on this. Now, this is not an old world beer by any sense of the word. Like even the brewing processes would speak volumes for that. But I think we're getting closer to something that is going to be a beer that won't need to be like plasticine. It won't need to be manipulated anymore. We've made a shape. It's a bad analogy, but you've made a shape out of it. It's like, that's it. I'm happy with that. It doesn't need to be moved anymore. And it's a bit like this is only was this 10 days old? from
10 days
old.
old, so it's
It's fresh.
It's very fresh.
And you're definitely getting that on the palate. You know from the nose to the palate, the back palate, that you're trying something that is quite new, fresh. Much like the V2, I'm really looking forward to trying the second half of the kegs.
Yeah.
So I think we got about, what here now? Maybe 8?
I think we delivered six on Sunday.
So after that 6, we got another 6 of the brew. Like, I'm interested to see how the first 6 try to the, especially with the dry hopping.
Yeah.
Pardon me. That's
And,
going to make a massive.
there's another 6 after that as well, Paul. So
Plenty
to come.
I think that's, well, the way that we sell beer, that's probably going to last us a month. I think 6, 12, 18, about 3 a week. I think it's, it's early to say what you would do next time. It's too early to say, but like, gun to your head.
Gun to my head. I think I'm going to keep the water cam the same. I think that really works well. That's been a big improvement, I think, on the beer. I think potentially we could even do a little bit more on the Vienna. Not much, like maybe a 1% increase in the grain bill. And we could play around, I think, with those early editions of the Centennial for a little bit of change of bitterness. But I think it's come out really well. And
I think we can all agree that we don't want to put citra into the boil.
Absolutely not.
No, we said this at the start. But I think we can all agree that we really don't want to do that, because in my opinion, this is a subjective opinion, because other people, in my own opinion, once you start using citra and mosaic and galaxy and strata for a dry hopping, for a late addition in the boil, it really does make the beer one-dimensional, and it's really hard for anything that you've put in before it, early additions, late additions, whirlpool.
Yeah.
It really just
Muddles it.
Yeah, it's just like you do all this effort to get to this, this hot profile here, and then you just like come over the top, and it just goes like that's all you taste, and like whatever's underneath, you're not going to. I'd stay away from. But hey, like we might get the V5. And we're like, you know what? We'll come back to that and have another thing. It's just like, I can just imagine in V5 where like we said we'd never use Galaxy and Mosaic, and it's just like Citra, Mosaic, and Galaxy. It's like great. We've made an XPA like 90% of every other brewery in Australia. Some of them are really good. I'm not patronising when I say that. It's just not what we planned when we started making and designing this beer.
No, that's right. We want something that any punter can come in and enjoy, and give feedback. Like we've said on all the previous videos, we want your feedback, both Tamf and Ambush. That's what's going into us changing the beers. So please get around it and let us know what your thoughts are on Untapped.
And we've had quite a few punters, our customers, our locals, people online that majority of them are constructive criticism. A few of them are like, that beer is not for me, which is great. This beer is not for everyone. If you drink Great Northern or Carlton Dry 5 days a week, on the 6th day, you're not going to enjoy this one. And on the 7th day, I really hope you rest. But but what we're trying to do here is create a beer for us, which is enjoyable and palatable to our locals here and our drinkers that come in. They come in expecting a beer that has flavor. They're coming in expecting a beer that is they expect craft beer, and this is what we're doing in here, because we've not a lot of other brewers would get to like the 3rd edition of something like this, and they might start thinking of adjuncts and how they can get more efficiency out of them. But that's it's not even on the top 10 things of how we.
I'd be open to thinking about splitting a batch and doing something like that in future.
Okay, so we might have a version 4.5.
We could do a 0.5.
We definitely could. It's just like
that might be an interesting way.
With the yeast that we're using, with
Brine 97.
It's not going to respond harshly.
No. I've used it in sours. I've used it in
an extract, or like a dry malt extract, or a corn sugar, or
corn sugar might be interesting.
Corn sugar, but like it would probably, you'd have to use it in like points, because it'd thin the beer out too much. By adding alcohol that we don't need, because we'd have to take grain away to keep. Otherwise, it'd
We've
be
still got
5.5%.
plenty. We've still got plenty of room for grain. Like we could add another 50 kilos of grain if you wanted to.
There we go. We're
do
just
that.
creating the next recipe. as we
Now we're just
speak.
spitballing. There's plenty of options that we could think about. I mean, I think the grain bill, we leave the grain bill more or less alone in regards to the grains that we've got in it. We can play around with that a little bit more. The kind of the ratios that we're looking at. But I think that's a really good base for where we're going. Still not perfect, but certainly in the right direction.
Better every brew.
That's right.
Ambush Brewing. What I find as I'm getting to the end of it, and you know we've been talking for a little while now, as it warms up, it's I'm definitely pulling out the esters, as you were pointing that on the yeast. They're quite prominent on the back of the nose, like that spice, that floral, that spice, which I'm going is the yeast. It's
That's
not
yeast.
it's not centennial. It's not some biotransformation that's happened in the grain because of like a catalyst that's kind of happens like that.
They're subtle, but I guess as the beer warms up, they're going to be more kind of potent. You're going to be able to smell them easier.
And I think with that kind of cleanliness that we just keep getting for, like we hit it once and it just keeps. It's great choice on the yeast. There's probably a little bit of room there to have a play with a little bit more specialty malts.
Yeah.
To fill that gap that I kind of see there, and it's not. You know, I drink a lot of beer. I try a lot of beers. So when I say something like that, it's not it's not even constructive criticism. Like we've made this beer together, so like we're always looking for ways to like to try a beer and just go like bang, it is perfect. Like I've been brewing beer for 15 odd years, probably more, and I don't think I've ever made one that was just like that was and I've sat with other brewers that claim they have, and subjectivity comes in, and then straight away it's just like, oh, I mean that's a great beer, but like I would have done this differently, or like I
know brewers that have spent 10 years brewing the same recipe, just trying to perfect it,
and it just gets worse.
It might not necessarily get worse, but it's kind of chasing the dragon, right? Like
yeah.
It is. It's a good name for beer too. It is kind of chasing the dragon because, you know, at the end of the day, you can only get as good as the ingredients are going to allow you. If you've started with something and you're faithful to that, you'll be able to improve on it for sure. But it's only ever going to be as good as what you started with.
And when I have tried beers at breweries that are core range, because I don't really look at limiteds that way. When they do have a beer that is like a flawless beer, like no flaws, no faults, and you ask the brewer who made it, it's like they will say it's like that beer took me 5 years to get to a point. That's why it's our core range.
Yeah,
that's right. Like, and you know that beer that you know that Cali IPA we did, you know that Phantasm was like that was pretty much the same beer until we got to this one that we wanted to put on core.
And that's funny you say that because that's kind of the opposite in a lot of ways to what we're about at Ambush is where we're experimenting. You know,
Axel and Tim don't make beer that way.
No, we don't. Yeah. No, we quite artistic in that sense is that we want to do one-offs, do interesting things, and you know if it doesn't come out perfect, you know it's not the end of the world. We're trying different things. We want people to experiment.
It's never the end of the world. It just gives you more credence to make something different and to make it better.
That's right.
Which is why we chose to, well, not that we chose, you and Tim was like, yeah, we'll make a collaboration with you. This will be...
well, we're glad we did it because we've had a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah, and we will continue to have fun. I mean, if you've watched our videos, follow us and give it a like and subscribe. You can see us at the brewery making these beers and just how much fun we have. Beer shouldn't be about all the science. I don't think. Again, my subjective opinion. It shouldn't be all about the science, because if you do that, you will lose what makes beer beer.
Well, that's what it is. It's the art versus the science at the end of the day. And
great band.
But it is very much that, and you've got to find a line as a brewer as to what you're going to stick to. Because I've had beers that have been made completely untraditionally, without any knowledge really of the science itself, and they're fantastic. So Just goes to show you can make great beer without worrying too much about the process.
I was just thinking that, like, because I can smell my Chinook hops, and Chinook and Centennial are related. I mean, like all hops are, but there's some of that like oily,
It's changed as well.
lupulin, resinous, grapefruit that comes through. I definitely get some of that in there.
It smells way better than last time I smelled.
Yeah, I've got a whole but up there. I still keep collecting it. But just add that last kind of smell as it's warming up. I'm getting to the end of this. Axel's already finished his.
You gotta represent, right?
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
As I was finishing that, I actually did get some change to like the some of the flavors I was getting. Not so much.
Must have come down a degree or up a degree or two.
A couple of degrees, I think.
Like
And I was
from
actually
3
getting
degrees we serve it.
some kind of essential oils, similar like mandarin or like kaffir lime. Like
Kaffir lime.
Really
Yeah.
subtle.
Lime peel and green apple skin, I definitely pick up on. And it's not the green apple skin that you'd look in a beer. Brewers out there will probably understand what I'm talking about. It's not a green apple that is a fault or a flaw in the beer. It is a green apple that is fresh. It's juicy. It is.
It's driven. It's hop driven flavor.
It's hop driven flavor. Then like, oh, that should not be there. And I want to warm this up. Like, I don't want to drink the rest of it. I kind of want to like let it warm up a bit because it's evolving in flavor as it starts to warm up, which again is a showcase of what we've done with yeast and hops. Because usually malts have to get to wine temperature above 8 to 10 over degrees before you perceive, again, unless you're a brewer that does this all the time, or unless you're like me that just, my job is to drink beer. It's not. I have other jobs. Ordering beer.
Thinking about beer.
Thinking about beer. Once in a while, I dream about beer. Have nightmares about beer.
No.
And it is. It's definitely coming up into those tropical sweet. I still get the apricot, but you're right. Tangerine, mandarin, nectarine. Tangerine, mandarin, nectarine.
But the oil, not the juice.
Yes,
and
and
what
that's
we were saying.
Yeah, it's the essential. Like, you know when you get the skin and you get a lighter and you flick and like spurts out. No.
We all did that. Come on.
We've all done that, haven't we?
Definitely.
Come on, Ollie. You never did that. That's what it reminds me of. It's not the flesh. It's not the white flesh. It's not the juice of a nectarine or a mandarin. It's the skin. It's the skin when you rub it in your hand like that hops, and you pull out the essential oils, and that's what I'm getting on this on the nose. But when you drink it, it kind of dissipates really quickly towards the end of the baton, and you think it's going to be overpowering, but it's not. It's really just like it's like a hug from an old friend. You know, you might not have seen them in 10 years. You're like, oh, this is going to be weird. Then you have arguments like, no, I like that. Yeah, I missed you. Aren't my analogies great?
They're fantastic. The Jameson's definitely helps.
Jameson definitely helps. What Jameson? What else can we say about this? Can we wrap it up? Do we have anything else we want to articulate to our listeners out there?
I think I just want to reiterate, come give it a try. You know, we're open to having chats. We're often here. Come up to us, have a chat with us.
In fact, we love having chats. Like talking beer is what we do.
We do enjoy it, maybe a bit too much. But we're here and we're doing it, and I'm enjoying it, so it's good.
Cheers. Thank you for joining me again, Axel.
Thank you.
To all our listeners out there, thank you for joining us or putting up with me again. Whichever way you want to look at that. Paul from To All My Friends, Axel from Ambush Brewing, trying the Equinox V3, our collaboration pale ale. Thank you for listening, and come on down and give it a try.